Hey, it's the God Awful Gospel Hour, and our guest today is Jake Rhodes.
God Awful. God Awful. God Awful.
You know, we have a theme song that was written by Josh's childhood friend. He's a band out of Boston called Paper Tigers.
We were trying to see how they compared to your band via Spotify weekly listen numbers, and my buddy's band gets like 90-something listens a week. And then I looked at Drunk Uncle and I was like, "Oh, you guys are like a real band."
Thanks, man.
You're actually having things. You're going to Stubbs.
Yeah, people are streaming your music. It's great.
Yeah, it's funny that like when I check their Spotify bank like once a year, and I think our total streams is like maybe like 100,000. Not crazy. Spotify numbers. That's not crazy.
Right.
And I was like, damn, maybe we got like, because I knew the pay was shitty, right? I was like, I'm sure we got like $1,000, right, dude? It was like $30.
Yeah, the
like
streaming is not a good deal.
No, it's terrible. It's so.
And it seems like
like
everything with anything that's a subscription service, like I don't know if you've been following, but Microsoft just had a bunch of layoffs, and even really successful studios they're shuttering that have released successful games, and it's because their subscription service, that Game Pass, it just doesn't make any money, and it doesn't pay out anything.
Spotify's
Spotify's the
Apple.
same kind of thing, right? That's like they just do not pay out the way that, and the record industry has always found a way to do that.
Like
Always
Apple-
found a way to not pay out.
Apple Music uses the same pay scale that they use for the slave kids that make the phones over in China. Like, well, would you prefer $0? That's what you were making before. So we can either give you 30 cents or you can go back to having nothing and eating dirt. How about that?
I love the fucking capitalism has raised 1 billion people out of poverty, and that's the people they're talking about. It's like instead of eating dirt, they eat like mud.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of salt on it. I'm like, yeah,
two
buddy.
pieces of rice now.
Yeah.
Now everybody has an iPhone made by slaves, right?
I was trying to write
Yeah.
a Bernie Mac bit about being so cool that you're in the back of the club, the comedy club, the comics at the back. Oh, I'm so cool that I went past the wall and I'm out now. I'm on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I'm outside the club.
I'm
right?
not even. I'm not even in there anymore. I'm on the patio
every
having
hour.
breakfast.
Dude, the heyday of like black comedians was when how old are you guys? You guys are
47.
okay.
42.
So
Yeah.
you have a better memory of this than I do. When like the best black comics, like post Richard Pryor's heyday,
Yeah.
were just guys in big suits that would go up and be like, "If my nephew gay, I'ma sell him." Like just like most violent homophobia that you can imagine.
Steve Harvey, you know.
How many of y'all like sex?
Yeah, have you ever seen that? Have you seen that interview with Steve Harvey saying, "If you don't believe in God, where's your moral barometer? You ain't got no moral barometer." Like what, a barometer really to detect the pressure of the weather, you know?
He just learned that word.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, Tracy Morgan had that. He's like, my son ever, I'll stab him,
Yeah, I love it. So awesome.
My favorite Steve Harvey bit was he was talking to Michael Clark Duncan about Planet of the Apes, and he was like, "They got you up there acting like an ape. They better be paying you. How much are they paying you?" And he was like, $10 million, Mr. Harvey. And he was like, "Oh, for $10 million, I would whoop on a porch
Right.
with a watermelon." And then they did the same thing in Black Panther. They got a whole Jabari tribe in the mountains of just gorilla people. And there's all the Disney I don't know whose idea this was. The movie was written by an African-American writer, but I know they had a focus or like a reading. They had a table read of the script.
Yeah.
And nobody in there was like, "No, we're not going to whoop like a gorilla for you, Disney."
I think there's a certain type of like well-meaning, Marvel obsessed white liberal.
Yeah, would
that,
you
like,
rather
they
make
got-
$0 or would you rather be in poverty?
Yes, yeah. Well, they're like, well, that Wakanda is good because they have inventions. And
Yeah.
by watching this, I love black people.
Right.
And in consuming this multi-million-dollar CIA-funded movie, I'm morally righteous in this.
I've noticed that a lot recently with a lot of like writing and fiction and movies and things like that. I'm like, if you look at the details of what you're saying, this does not say what you think it's saying. You know, like what, like especially with Wakanda, like they're basically Wakanda is basically kind of what Donald Trump wants to make America.
Yeah.
But since it's Africa, then it's okay, and
Black Singapore. It's
right.
hyper capitalist. Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of those that a lot of times if you bring those up, those like contradictions up, it's just like you get that blank. It reminds me a lot of talking to my very religious mom about really a talking snake. Really, like you see the realization creep across the face, and then you see the double down, no, like that that little Men in Black thing happen. It's you remember years ago there was a South Park episode about Richard Dawkins and how Cartman freezes himself to wait for the Nintendo Wii to come out, but he freezes himself for too long and he wakes up 500 years later and everyone's atheist and nobody believes in God anymore. But other things have just taken over, and so they're just religious about other things like science, damn it, and and it's really crazy how fast that seems it's like it's actually happened, because it seems like there's a lot of religious belief out there for people who don't believe in God anymore.
So you just turned 30 this year.
Yeah.
Welcome to the motherfucking Thunderdome of hangovers are not to be fucked with anymore. When we were little, we would get hangovers and just send our girlfriends to 7-Eleven to get ginger ale and saltines and be like, let's watch a movie. And then after 30, it was like existential. What has become of my life?
Dude, something happened when I hit like 28 and I moved in, my fiance and I moved in together, right? And right what you're saying, like, like we're going to lay in bed and like have some favor and watch movies, we're hungover. Every time, not every time, but like 50% of the time if I wake up hungover, if I tie one off, Sunday's the day that my fiance wants me to like go get some shelves.
Farmer's market.
Or like, like how hungover are you? Do you want to install shelving?
Yeah. And then when they're hungover, you have to like go bring tacos and do everything for them like they're a baby, but they don't reciprocate hangover sympathy.
Yeah, I'll be like, babe, I feel like I'm going to throw up, like I can taste triple sec. And it's like, I wanted to go look at big plants all day.
That store's open till 10 p.m.
We got to get, the farmer's market closes at 10. We got to get out there. Yeah.
Like, I love you so much. I'll do anything for you. But in this moment, I want to throw up and go back to sleep.
Have a meatloaf moment. I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that.
We'll not go to Lowe's to look at big ass plants.
Have you, did you see the wife Jack memes when they all started showing up?
No.
You know what Wojak memes are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was one, and it was the wife, and it was things like that. It was like, babe, wake up. We got to get up at 8 a.m. to go to the farmer's market. Yeah. It's just, things that your wife says or whatever.
Her head darts around like a bird every time you're driving and sees like every little squirrel in a tree. Like, you got to watch out.
The ones that like, dude, the ones that are so like psychologically bizarre are the ones that the incel guys make about imaginary nagging wives that they do not have. And they're not realistic because they've never been in like a genuine relationship. So it'll be like the wife Jack, and it'll say like, honey, are you going to get my ice cream? And it's like, what the fuck are you, dude? Like, there are actual cliches, like old hat hacky bits of like, you want to mow the lawn hungover today, honey? You said you do it last weekend. But will you go get me a phone charger from the gas station?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's not. It's like
I
you
get
do
comfort from the common ones because I'm like, at least everyone else is going through this. My wife does that too. It kind of makes it okay. She's not just trying to torture me. She's just being that.
Well, yes, and I've really learned to look at it too from the side of them.
Yeah.
Because I'm a slob by nature, right? Like I just never figured it out.
Oh, we're pigs. We're all pigs. It's gross.
And she's like, she'll be like, the house is a mess, and I'll look at it and it'll look pristine to me. The cleanest the house has ever looked. And I realize like, my margarita when I'm hungover shelving Lowe's thing is she looks at a house and it's like, we need to clean this house, and I'm like, this is the cleanest our apartment's ever been.
Right.
Dude, I'm such a slob. During COVID I quit showering so much just from not having to go to the world.
Yeah,
and just like working from home. And I smelled my own nuts one day, and then I was like, honey, if I can smell this, I'm sorry, because you probably smelled it yesterday. Mm-hmm. You can tell me to take a shower. I need to be reminded. She's like, I'm not your mother. I was like, as long as I shower before my nuts start to sting real bad, then that's pre-smell, post-sting. Then I know nothing's really bad and rotten, but that was COVID nuts for me. That's how I knew I was in a bad place.
I'll get like I'll go through these phases where I just get fucking like I have like bipolar, so I just like it'll just happen with like a couple months. I'm just like I'm like the giver, where I'm just telling people all of my various tragedies.
Yeah.
And,
No, I did the same thing. You were telling that story about your dad, and I have a similar. For a year, I couldn't stop in any conversation telling this trauma thing. I was like,
Yeah.
somehow everything relates back to that bad thing. That
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, you like I think maybe it's like maybe
You're trying
I
to make
should-
it funny for yourself,
Yeah.
to feel better, but you have
you're
to say it
working
over and
on it.
over.
No.
You're like, this is
Sometimes
going to be a great bit
people
once I
Yeah,
get kicked out of 8 debutante balls.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I like won't shower, and my fiance will be like, "Hey, when's the last time? When's the last time you like took care of your hygiene?" And I'm like, "You talking about showering?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "It's Sunday. I went and did a mic on Wednesday, so Tuesday."
Yeah.
What
What if we go to Schlitterbahn and you go down a slide or something?
Yeah,
With a bar of soap in your pants.
yeah.
Do something.
Were you
Yeah.
guys latchkey kids? Like your parents were like gone at work and stuff. Like
for an amount of time, yeah.
Towards the end, maybe the last couple years before I got a car, I had one of those. I had friends that were definite latchkey kids.
My mom was a piano teacher, so she was always home yelling at other people's kids.
Yeah.
And then I had piano lessons at the end of the day, and she'd run out of patience. So I got like the full brunt of like, I'm fucking sick of these kids.
yeah.
She's like, I'm giving you free piano lessons, and I was like, I don't want them.
I don't want to play this instrument. Yeah. My mom had me when she was 16, and so she just like had to work like immediately.
Yeah.
Like, and my dad was like not when I was very young, was super around. She was just like raising me on her own, and so I was just talking to my buddies about this the other day. My mom would just like, okay, you're gonna watch Barney. Here's a bunch of Dr. Pepper. I'm gonna be gone for 12 hours.
Nice.
And I go, okay. So I think that like had some sort of effect on like how I perceive like health.
Right.
You're like Homer
know?
Simpson. I like Barney. I like Dr. Pepper. Bye.
Yeah. Like, how much water have you had today? I'm like, I've had 6 shots of espresso, 7 Zen pouches, and an Adderall. My fiance would be like, you need to drink water. And I'm like, I can drink water tomorrow.
I did a lot of cardio from the stress of all that, so that was
Yeah,
good.
my heart beats like a 110 resting. I'm burning calories.
So how come the word pendejo got censored on Apple?
I don't know.
You
Somebody
didn't
pointed
try to
out-
put it in normal, and they came back and said no, or
Dude, I straight up didn't know until like maybe a year ago. A listener reached out to me on Twitter and was like, "Do you know that you're like kind of partially shadow whatever
Yeah.
the fuck on
Right.
Apple Pod?" And I said no, and I think it wasn't that way. I remember off the jump, but I never thought to look at it again because I just upload the episodes. I don't really check like anything,
it used to be all English. It was George Carlin's words you can't say. That was what got. But now there's AI, and I think it finds everything. Do you speak Spanish at all?
No, not really.
Okay, I had to be fluent. My mom was a missionary, and I just got it beat into me. But there's a morning zoo guy here in Austin named Peely, and he's got crazy eyes. I'll put a
Okay.
picture of him up. But he had a whole. We were driving around doing traffic control, putting out barrels, and he did a whole episode of just women calling in and asking them if they like to do it in the butt. And it was all in Spanish, so nothing happened. And they just aired 4 hours of women talking about anal.
The censors weren't. Yeah.
Yeah, do you like it in the culo? Le gusta el culo? And it's sí, a veces no. And it was like, there was nothing was censored at all.
That was
So-
the Gen X radio version of those guys on Instagram that like go up to women on 6th Street and they're like, "What's your body count?
Dude.
You like sucking dick?"
Somehow
Yeah.
went from
You like-
that to now you can't say pendejo on Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
The
don't know.
the one that I like the most is whenever that guy goes up to those girls. He's like, "What's something that really bothers you about guys?" And the girl goes, "When you're trying to go pee on 6th Street, and some guy walks up to you with a microphone and goes, 'Hey, what do you like about guys?'" And the guy goes, and then she just walks off. The guy's like, "We fucking suck." He had that like low
Yeah.
self-esteem guy. Like,
There was one of my favorite ones. I think it might have been the same guy. I don't know. They all looked the same to me, but
Right.
it was on 6th Street, and it was these 2 girls. And he like, "Hey, would you guys, ask you guys some questions?" They're like, "Oh yeah, we're like pretty fucked up." So I was like, "Where's this gonna be up at?" It's like, "Let's be on Instagram." Like, I find whatever. And the guy's like, "Oh, like, do you like it when a guy like comes inside, whatever. And they were like, yeah, sometimes like, are you on birth control? And both of them go, oh, we don't need that.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, what do you mean? And she was like, how do I say this? And she like whispered to her friend, and she was like, oh, we have dicks.
Nice.
And like they were, I guess, like the term passing, or the guy was like astounded,
They
right?
got him.
Yeah,
He was like,
Got his
he was like,
ass.
y'all fucking with me, right? Like, haha.
Right,
And she
right.
was like, I can show you.
Yeah.
And he was like, he just kind of like, he was like, no, well, hey, this has been 6th Street chats with fucking Enrico, like, and fucking took off. And I was like, damn, dude, like,
I have a bit about that where you're supposed to be an ally for the trans community, but you're never sure what people have. So the only way to be sure, you can't spell an ally without anally.
you have like the fucking, man, like, I feel like I didn't know, I think maybe, I didn't know, I had a conversation, I didn't know that transvestite was like not a, I literally, I wasn't trying to be edgy. So I had a bit where I said that word. This was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Like, I don't know more. It was right before COVID when I was like trying to do mics right before the city shut down.
Yeah, is that one of those second Obama terms that, where things changed? Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, dude, it was that one. And then I straight up didn't know Oriental was bad.
Yeah.
And that was because of my family.
Yeah.
Like, my family still calls people Oriental. I'm just like,
That's your culture, though.
Yeah, that's
we
like
have to
calling-
respect your culture from where you grew up. That's part of your culture. That's being
my N-word.
ignorant.
Oriental is like calling a black person colored. Like that.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me whenever I hear. Well, they're Orientals. I'm like, really? God, you can't say that. Ugh.
My favorite thing about this is when Nintendo got in trouble for making a Mexican Mario and he danced around the hat. And everybody got mad at Japan, and Japan was like, "We don't talk to other countries. That's our culture. We've been doing this for thousands of years. We're closed off. We're better than everyone else. We don't give a fuck. You have to respect our samurai shit." And part of that is we don't know what Mario is. We don't know what an Italian plumber is. We wanted to make a bunch of outfits. We found a picture of a guy in a poncho dancing around a hat. That's one of the outfits. I'm sorry. No, we're not sorry.
Yeah,
They microaggressed to all of Mexico with that game.
Well, I saw some poll, like somebody like published it on like Twitter, but it was like an article. I think it was like a Substack writer guy, and it had a poll, and it was like, how many people, like surveyed Hispanic people, use Latinx, and it was like of like a crazy number, like 1,000 surveyed, it was like 2 or 3%.
Right.
0, yeah.
And the only people I've ever heard seriously use it are like
White chicks.
yes, yeah.
No,
And
my company. I was getting a lot more of these emails than before, but we would get a DEI department emails, and they still say Latinx, and I'm like, that is not a real word. Latino people do not use the word Latinx, right?
Yeah, well, their language functions, on a like a linguistic, like gender binary.
Yeah, everything is gendered, and if you're trying to make it ungendered and you're a white woman, aren't you kind of colonizing their language?
Well, also, it's like you're finding things. I felt this way about that and other things where I'm like, there are serious like material condition problems.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we haven't really, moved past a lot of the mistreatment of like South American and Hispanic immigrants. We really it's still the same as it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've just put a new coat of paint on it.
Right. But now we use nicer words to talk about them, right?
Dude, the fucking my God, this happened to me in college, and then, again, Obama second term word, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, it's a homeless guy, and this girl in my class was like, the term now is unhoused.
Unhoused,
and I was like,
yeah,
do you think that motherfucker cares
Right.
about how I refer to him? He literally jacks off outside.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about like, oh, did you call me a hobo, bro? Come on, bro. Bro.
That's another thing that I've said before on like tweets or whatever. It's like, George Floyd was murdered, but it's okay. We all put black Instagram pictures, and then the AP decided to capitalize the word black and not white, so we fixed it.
Dude,
You're
one of
welcome,
my
America.
favorite tweets during the protests or the riots, Ben, he tweeted he said, everyone is arguing about whether or not you should post a black square while tanks roll down their streets. Just like, because I remember feel like that was so fucking stupid. And at the same time, we went to a protest in Houston, and it went bad, and people were getting their shit fucked up by rubber bullets.
Yeah,
and
it
I got
happened here,
home,
yeah.
and it was like, if you're not posting a black square, you're not. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Go.
I have a black mark on my leg.
Yeah,
From rubber bullets.
Yeah,
I got hit in the face with a black beanbag from a gun. That's my black square. I'm seeing stars, not black squares.
Yeah.
So I have a Bible bit I was working on about what if Lazarus killed himself, and then Jesus brought him back, and he's like, "What the fuck, man? I'm suicidal. You just ruined my day twice."
Yeah, it was his friend, right? And you're like, you weren't there for me, bro. Why are you bringing me, dude? You didn't like answer my pigeon letter or whatever the fuck they had back then.
That was one of my favorite Onion articles of all time. You know the footsteps thing, where it's like it was then that I carried you, and it was the Jesus, and it was saying it was then that I carried you, and him talking about how there's one set of footsteps, and the counterpoint was bullshit, Jesus. Those are obviously my footprints, and it's like Jesus did not carry me. Jesus actually, you see his footprints running away whenever I was going through the hard time.
I wanted to get the footprints thing with a picture of a gay guy banging another dude up against the wall so his feet are off the ground.
Very nice.
It was then that you
Remember when
carried
there
me.
was one set of footprints?
It's like the Galveston seawall with just like a pair of ass cheeks.
That's
like,
when,
into the algae
that's when
bloom.
your horse tits wife pegged you up against the headboard. There was one set of knee prints on the bed.
Yeah.
And I was trying to write another Bible bit about a guy that had a girlfriend that was 18 BC, and then Jesus got born, and time reversed, and he became a pedophile because the years started
Two.
counting the other way, and he's like, "God damn it, Jesus! Now I'm a pedo because you got born, and now my girlfriend's 0 years old."
I remember I had a professor who like spent an insane amount of money getting a PhD in religious studies and then like a master's in divinity. He had an MDiv, so he went to like seminary school too. And his whole thing was like spent like $100,000, wrote a book on whether or not Jesus was fucking. That was his whole thing. And it was obviously more
How many
academic
y'all
than
out
that,
there
like-
like sex?
whether he was sleeping with Mary Magdalene. And his whole thesis, obviously more academic and intellectually worded, sure, but it was like, was his relationship with Mary Magdalene like love or sexual or whatever? And I was like, dude, you spent $100,000 asking a bunch of old guys if Jesus was getting his shit slurped. Like that was, you were like, listen, I studied philosophy. I wasted my fucking time and my money. That is a bizarre pursuit of like intellectual whatever,
Did he get to the bottom of it? What was the findings?
He believed that they had a relationship that was love but not sexual, which is also like a lot of what just normal church leaders believe.
He was like,
It
"Don't
wasn't
embarrass me. You'll never work in this town again if you don't watch me jerk off into this fern."
Yeah.
He was the
You
original
want to see a
Jew.
magic trick, lady?
Yeah.
You would imagine,
Loofahs grow on trees in Bible times.
turn out, but
Are you guys coming to End of an Ear or Waterloo?
I don't. No, we're playing Stubbs.
Nice.
At the end of the month, the indoor stage, I think.
Yeah, the downstairs.
Yeah, for like an album release.
Cypress Hill just had a bunch of people get heat stroked the other night over there.
Is that? That was a little bit before my time. Is that guy white?
The Cypress Hill guy? I
Yeah.
think he's maybe mixed.
Okay, because I remember he kind of missed the whole "can he say it" debate.
You have to
Oh,
do
yeah.
you have to do the smell test. How white people smell like wet dogs to black people. You got to get them wet and get them around a black guy. Get them
Yeah.
around Muggs, the DJ, and see if he.
It's better
the
than
true
23 and Me. That'll really tell you.
Yeah. It was like, I guess it was cool for him to.
I guess now we have to ask Kendrick Lamar. He's the one who's in charge of the passes.
Yeah.
He's the
Yeah, that
one
was
handing
always
it.
like a point of contention. I grew up in like a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood.
Yeah,
and
Pasadena.
so- Pasadena, and
Is that near
and-
Abilene?
Pasadena, Texas?
yeah,
That's near Houston, isn't it?
yeah, it's like 15 minutes away from
Yeah,
Houston.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I remember when I moved to Austin, I just assumed that anybody except for white people could use the soft A. Because the
Right.
Mexican guys that I knew, they just let it rip, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, they're allowed to.
Yeah.
And then the first time somebody told me no, I was like, nah, I'm not the arbiter, right? But they could use it because they.
I don't
they,
have
you know,
the stamp for the notary public like Kendrick
Yeah.
Lamar does.
Yeah.
they're
They're
feels, cool.
It feels like in about the past, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, all context has been removed. to where it's just like, if you are white, you cannot say it. But it used to, like when we first started, I dropped the N-word on stage in a joke that I had because I was quoting a commercial. Do you remember whenever Glee was on?
Yeah,
They had that Down syndrome girl on Glee. And
I don't remember that. Yeah, but yes.
And there were these commercials, and it was like a Hispanic guy, and he was like, "It's not acceptable to call me spick." And then there was like a Asian person, "It's not acceptable to call me chink." And there's a black guy who says, "It's not acceptable to call me N-word." And then they had the Down syndrome girl, and she said, "It's not acceptable to call me a retard." So I had a whole joke about that. And at first I said I didn't want to say the N-word because I didn't want to get lynched. But one time I did that, and I got the laugh, and I was like, should I have just said it? And I just said the word, and everything was cool, and other people would drop because they were playing with the context of using the word. And now it's if you're singing rap lyrics or any of that kind of stuff, it's like, just don't say it. And I actually kind of like that. I have a new bit where I say that I really like to say the N-word, not the actual word, the phrase, the N-word. It's just really fun to say, because Louis C.K. had a thing where he's like, you're just putting the word in somebody's head.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
meta.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
You're making everybody be meta.
Yeah.
Dude, it was so funny. I was in high school when Vine came out.
Yeah.
I was a senior, and man, I barely missed that window because there was one that I had made that I guess, and I deleted the account, deleted that fucking post. There was one I had made where like my little nephew, he had one of those like electric little baby cars you get from Walmart, and it had like spinners on it. And I was like, yeah, like check out my new ride, like just letting it rip, because I was like, fuck it, it's funny. And people were like, oh yeah, like get it how you live, Playboy, because it was like 2011 or whatever. And then, dude, the next year, like I'm in college, and it's like, everybody, and I was like, yeah, you're right, I've never said it in my whole life. Nope, I've never. Dude, you're never gonna catch me slipping. And like, we would do this thing to each other, my roommates, where we would search our old tweets from like 2007.
Oh yeah.
With like soft A, and I was like, just getting everybody, and I was like, I've never said it. You guys are fucked. And then my butt.
I dropped the hard O last week with the Australian guy. He said I couldn't say abo.
Oh,
I was like, well, we're in America, and nobody cares here.
It is the N-word of Australia.
I had no idea.
So I got on Twitter like within the first year, and one of my first ever tweets, because whenever you would go to the twitter.com, it would say, what are you doing? And you would put in your status. And so I answered the question, what are you doing? And I said, updating Twitter, faggot. So one of my first tweets ever, and it's still there. I have that account locked because I just don't use it anymore. But I'm like, if I ever need it, I have that original one saying I'm an OG.
Yeah, dude, I was one of my favorite around the time that like the people were like pulling up old posts and forum posts and like canceling each other for like bad jokes or whatever. I did a little social experiment where all of the most like shrill, like very politically correct, like white women.
Yeah.
In high school, a lot of these girls pivoted in college to being like progressives, which was great. I'm glad, like that's cool. I'm with you on the politics.
All awful now.
But they used to be hot Cheeto girls.
Yeah.
Cheetah print on the steering wheel, Nissan Sentra, or like green Volkswagen Bug. So before like 2011, it was like they're tweeting Wayne lyrics and they're letting them rip.
Oh yeah, right.
Like, fellas with no money act like money is everything, and they're tweeting that at like 3 a.m. from their Quiznos job. And then 2012 on, it's like, we need to make space.
Yeah, right.
It's
problematic.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you guys, listen, authenticity is dead, but just you don't got to switch up that hard. Just we all know you should say it.
It really was the second Obama term is whenever everything just kind of shifted and everything turned, and I don't know what it was.
Locked it in.
What I think it was a tipping point where really the liberals won the culture war. They got control of everything. And what I feel like is a lot of those people still think they're the underdogs, and they still think that they are the ones who aren't, in control.
My conspiracy theory, personally, that I just kind of pull out of my ass on this issue is after Occupy was when all this stuff started.
Yep.
There you go.
And that was the last moment that like people of like differing political affiliations, but mostly on the same side, libertarians, socialists, people that now hate each other.
Yeah.
They were all on the same page.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this shit's fucked. We have to stop this. I don't care if you're a commie. I don't care, whatever. And then like a year later, we're bickering online about like stupid shit from 20 years ago.
No,
like the CIA. The CIA did that. I blame them.
I
you
fully
know?
subscribe to the theory that that was what they used to disrupt Occupy and get rid of any type of class-based movement.
Yes.
and
They still do it.
That's
yeah.
that's another joke that I've been making lately is this ESG DEI woke stuff or whatever. It's such a radical idea and it threatens the people in power so much that every single huge corporation has completely adopted it and it's part of every single policy and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's a really revolutionary idea.
All the other government stuff that happens, you can hear about it and it doesn't affect your life. But then the DEI stuff actually fucks up our video games and movies.
Yeah, it makes our movies bad. It makes video games suck.
This is touching my butthole now and I don't like it.
It's so like those guys, like it's always their brains. They have like some of those guys have like goldfish memories. So they're like 2 years ago it was CRT.
Yeah.
And then it was like, you're not taking my gas.
Yeah, it was
stuff,
Ukraine
mommy.
and now it's Gaza.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then especially with like the DEI shit, I'm like, dude, fucking, what are you mad about?
Yeah.
Like, what is it that you're upset about? And they're like, oh well, we want the people who are qualified for the job to have the job, not just because they're a woman or a black. I'm like, hey, listen, man, I don't know if you've ever worked a job in your life, but the people at the top are grossly incompetent, usually because they know somebody who is kind of
that's how it's always been, right?
Yeah,
Speaking
it
of
doesn't
angry
like
women, do you have any Mother's Day plans?
no, my mom's on a cruise.
Nice. You're
She
lucky.
likes Carnival cruises.
And mine's in Europe. I just have to get up early and call Europe, and then I'm done. But my
Call
wife
Europe?
co-opted it now. Since she's the mother of my children now, she's my mother now, and we have to do Mother's Day because
Mike Pence style. He
Yeah.
calls his wife mommy.
yeah, mother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
anybody
so
who
cool.
anybody who calls their mom or their wife mother, I'm like, I start to get Norman Bates vibes,
Yeah, just because I slap your ass and you call me daddy doesn't mean it's reciprocal.
Well, it's definitely one of those like when a guy is so deeply religious that he like horseshoes back around to being a deviant. You know what I mean? Like that type of like.
On a
like-
long enough timeline, every youth group pastor is a diddler.
yeah, I love Jesus so much that I need to share his love with you, your body.
Yeah, that's my big thing. We're trying to align ourselves with the Satanic Temple of Massachusetts, whatever that place. Salem, because they're doing something here in Texas against spanking in schools and bodily autonomy for kids. And I got spanked a lot. And it didn't bother me until I thought about it later. And I was like, this is just another religious loophole for adults to take children's underpants off and touch them. Yeah. Spanking's still touching.
butt touching.
That is my favorite like inherent contradiction in some of these like Christian like private school guys is they're like, do you see that they're doing drag queen story hour? You know where kids are historically very safe? Religious education institutions. That's what we need to make more of, not these public schools that teach kids about sex. Let's get them into a Christian Catholic Bible school where nothing bad ever happens to children ever. And like that's their whole line of argument. And I'm like, dude, we have all the receipts, big dog.
Yeah.
Somehow it went from like your parents telling you not to have porn because you couldn't jerk off because Jesus is watching you to Jesus is watching kids jerk off to youth group leaders going, well, how come Jesus gets to watch kids jerk off? I think it was the WWJD bracelets. Those came out and they were like, what kids would Jesus watch jerk off? All of them.
the inherent
Just trying to
idea
be
that,
like the Lord.
Like they see these their enemy is like a manufactured like lesbian or gay teacher. Like they see these teachers getting all the kids and they're jealous. So they're like, all right, we got to reopen the Catholic schools again. We got to get the rulers out, the nuns, the whole 9 yards.
We can't let the gays diddle the kids. Those are ours kids to diddle.
Right? Yeah. Hey, get out of this is our park. You can't fucking play over here.
One of my favorite quotes was when Trump got elected was Ian MacKay from Minor Threat said, regardless of the rudder, the current continues in the same direction. So, he's one of our old sage wizards now.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to come with something like that in 2016. All of a sudden, I was like, hell yeah, Ian. We used to see him working at the Haagen-Dazs in DuPont Circle with Henry Rollins when I was little.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a fun story. One of my favorite moments with Rollins was when they did that punk reunion, like big table meeting, and Johnny Rotten was there, who is also like now he's like a Nigel Farage, like hardcore conservative or whatever.
Yeah.
A few of them went that direction. It's weird.
It's like he was nice, and then his things went rotten.
Yeah. He told Henry Rollins, he was like, oh yeah, we thought you were a bunch of upper middle class school children. We used to make fun of you, like we thought you were just silly. And then Henry was like, I remember you saying that in an interview. I remember telling you I wanted to rip your old fucking ears off too. And like, I was like,
The Sex
man,
Pistols
like,
were manufactured by that homo.
they're a boy band.
Yeah.
They were a boy band made by like what is probably like an old British pedophile.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it.
You can just say old
like,
British and pedophiles is given.
Right.
yeah, redundant. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You had a haircutting story, a haircuttery story with your dad, and I have one also. We were talking about it last night. My best friend was here. We had Trish Smart in the studio, and he was like, Josh had the coolest Tony Hawk haircut, and I was so jealous, and then his dad took him to haircuttery. I think my dad was hooking up or something. He had some weird relationship with the lady at the haircuttery in Sterling, Virginia. They started cutting my hair, and I was like, I just want to trim. I've got my swoop right. I'm in the Bones Brigade. And then he was like, keep cutting it. I'm fucking paying for it. Cut it down. And then I came back to my skater friends, and they're like, what the hell happened to your swoop? And I was like, I don't want to talk about it. It was just such torture sitting there for an hour getting my hair cut. And everybody there knew I was not happy about it.
Right.
It was
Yeah,
a
there's
turning
something
point
about,
for my
like-
relationship with my dad. I was like, we're not cool anymore.
It's like an ex-military dad. Like he got the high and tight when he was 19, and then just said, "I'm never getting anything else."
Yeah.
You know,
I got
that's how
tortured,
my-
so now you get tortured, so you'll be perfect like me.
Yeah,
Because I
I'm
turned
doing
out great.
yeah. I only smoke crack 5 days a week. I'm doing fucking so good. Yeah, I had the same thing. I would like go to the skate park after trying to grow my hair out, and
What
I would
skate
just
park
have
were you at?
like, huh?
What skate park were you going to?
South Side, and then Sylvan Beach over there in Galveston Bay.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Buddies would be like, dude, you look like a fucking sheriff. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone. I'm still cool. I'm still punk rock, you know?
Gotta
I
get a
just look
Vans
like a
hat and
state
put a
trooper.
Vans hat on so
Yeah.
you cover up the mess.
You'd have that same haircut, but you'd do frosted tips. Back whenever
I did.
We were all skaters. Whenever I was in high school, that was frosted tips.
Yeah,
I had frosted tips too.
your Instagram goes back a lot of years. You went to Paris. I was looking at that.
Oh shit, yeah.
It goes back to when you were a baby.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that. We didn't have any money growing up, and then my mom was like found out the school was sending people to France, right?
Yeah.
And I had mentioned it in passing. I was like, oh, it'd be cool to go, and she was like, oh no, we got money now, and I was like, wait, when? You know, like very confused, and I just was like telling my friends, like, dude, I think I'm middle class now. My mom's sending
I
me
can't talk to you
Europe or
anymore. I
something.
can't skate here with you guys anymore.
Yeah, and then like 3 years later, I'm in college. I just found out that my mom was like taking out payday loans to go on Carnival cruises.
Aw.
Like I just thought like, oh shit, like my mom, like we figured it out, like
Yeah.
you know, damn, you know, and then like
Done
like,
come up. Moving on
yeah,
up.
it was a 600% interest loan from like a Ukrainian devil man who like was just like
It's probably
selling.
defaulted
fake-
now. She doesn't have to worry about it anymore. The
Oh, yeah,
building
that's
got
true.
blown up.
Paulie Walnuts is coming around to your house to collect every week. Is what's happening.
Yeah, I got to live in Paris for a month on a dog sitting gig through my parents. They're travel bloggers, and they made some friend lady, and she was like, "I need you to come watch my dog." It was 12 years ago, and everybody thought I was a local because I was wearing her dead husband's clothes and walking a dog, so I looked French, I guess. They were
That's
asking me for directions, and I was like, "Je suis désolé, je n'aime pas français ou le tabac." Like, I don't speak French. I'm sorry. Where's the cigarette store? That was all I knew how to say.
I remember I met this kid who like I got an understanding of what a European's view of the U.S. is. Specifically, they know 3 states: New York, Texas, California.
Hell yeah.
I think I've talked about this on the show, but like he was like, I told him I was from Texas, and he was like, "Oh, do you have a cow? Do you live on a farm?" And I was like, "No, I live in a city. I take a car to school." And he was like, "No." I was like, "The fuck do you mean no? It's my life. Like you don't."
Yeah.
He was like, "No, you have everybody from Texas. They have like a goat." And I was like, "Dude, fuck no. What do you think is happening over there? Do you think we just live in the fucking? Some people do.
Everybody in England was buying me Budweisers, and I was like, I don't want a Budweiser. And then you realize the Budweiser in Europe is so much better than this shit here. It's like from Budweiser, Germany, like
Yeah,
directly.
it's the old SS
Like,
Budweiser.
oh
yeah,
wow, this is actually what it's supposed to taste like. Clydesdale piss.
Yeah, I had friends who got those kind of questions from people in like Paris and France and all that, and They just went with it. They were like, "Oh yeah, I was I was riding a horse before I could walk." And sometimes bandits come down from the mountains, and we got to fight them off with our shotguns and our rifles, and they would just go on and on and on. These people would just be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing,"
Yeah, you just tell them the plot from Red Dead.
Yeah,
2,
exactly. It's just
you're like,
there was a plan.
my dad's name was Arthur Morgan, and his best friend Dutch, and they robbed trains.
Talking about going to Tahiti, there was always a plan.
Hey there, Mister. Yeah.
Those are the best Come Town episodes when Nick is playing Red Dead and he's just, "Gonna see your penis?"
Oh yeah,
these boys bothering you, ma'am. Yeah.
The lady we had on last night was from Gaithersburg, and she didn't even know who Nick Mullen was. And I was like, "You guys are from the same city. It's right across the river from me. I grew up in Fairfax, Virginia, and it's the big sprawl. It's the Beltway." But there was a river between Maryland and Virginia that only had like one bridge, so we didn't even talk to those people because you had to go all the way into town, cross the bridge, and go back out. It's all a big spoke. So you had a bunch of awesome Bible summer camp stories. I went to one in Wise, Virginia. I'm sorry if I'm mixing up you and Thomas, because I listen and sometimes I can't tell who's talking. But you guys had a whole episode talking about Bible church camps.
Yeah, he grew. Yeah, so I went to a lot of the vacation Bible school stuff, and then his dad was a preacher, so he kind of grew up, I guess, more in the church, proper. But I went to a lot of the don't jack off, don't smoke weed, everybody loves Jesus, the end. A lot of those things,
They didn't have the jack off talk with us until Christian college in England, and they were like, "It's just like sneezing, you got to get it out." But we were all 18.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's actually the correct thing to say to a kid who's scared that God's watching you take a shit already anyway when you're little.
Yeah, that fucking if you look, that guy that fucking would bring all of us over to his fucking studio apartment in Webster, and we would do maybe 20 minutes. We'd read the Gospels, and then there would be this thick gravitas in his voice and change. He'd be like, "Boys, there's something deep within us. It's an urge.
Yeah,
and it's your spiritual obligation to fight it." And I'm talking about being hungry.
Now, all heads bowed and all eyes closed. If you want to raise your hand in front of just God, he'll know we won't say nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything they want to confess?
Yeah.
I was pretty early on. I was the kid sitting in the back row of the youth group going bullshit whenever the pastor would be talking or whatever, especially whenever it got to that kind of stuff, and especially when it got to them talking about how there's a constant stream of filth coming out of Hollywood, California, and it's coming right into your brain. And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man? Terminator's awesome. Shut up."
Yeah, Matrix rules.
Yeah, right.
Me and Matt, who were here last night, would sit in the front row of youth group and go, until the youth group leader was like, "Who's doing that? Stop it!" And we were just like, you can't tell who's doing it.
I distinctly remember I always like to ask people what was the age, because a lot of my friends who grew up in the church, it goes one of two ways. Either you stick with it and it's like a family thing and you do it, whatever.
That's great.
Or
if that's what you need and it helps you, that's great.
Yeah. And so for me, I always ask people what was the age where you woke up one day and you were like, "Wow, this shit fucking sucked." Life. You were like, "What the fuck?"
For you, it was Terminator. For me, it was Back to the Future. They boycotted Back to the Future too. They were like, "They're making the dads look stupid. We're not going to go see the second movie." And I was like, the goddamn motherfucking wheels turned sideways and the thing went into space. They didn't even go to the future in the first movie. They're going to the future now. I want to see what the fucking future looks like. And I don't think I want to go to church anymore. If that's what it takes for me to go to the movies, we just want to go see a fucking movie. And you have to ruin that. That's the one time God maybe isn't watching me jerk off.
Yeah, I'm not jacking off at Judgment Day, bro. I
That's
just
where the
wanna
cops watch Pee Wee Herman jerk off is in the movie.
Yeah. That was my dad's favorite story to tell people. My dad was not religious, but he loved, for some reason, when my mom would have friends over, be like, "Hey, you remember Pee Wee's Playhouse?" And Gen X, or younger boomers, is my dad's age group.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Oh yeah, we watched it when we were kids." That boy loved to go into them theaters and pull his little wiener out and tug on it till the cows come home. And this would be my mom's church biddies, her little
do you have a cow? Yeah, they come home when I'm done jerking off.
Yeah.
We have mini cows.
Oh, I think I heard about that. And you're like, "Yeah, dude." He'd go back in there and he'd tug on his little noodle till the cows. I mean, fucking, he would not stop. My dad would just keep going because it's just so funny to him. And I'm like, my mom was like, "Please."
Yeah.
This is not church dinner conversation.
Yeah, for me, the Bible was the first fantasy world that I ever got into. And then I got
Really?
and then I got into like reading Lord of the Rings and all that shit. And then I was like, dude, the world building in the Bible sucks. It's full of contradictions. It's like nothing makes any sense. All of a sudden, there's this thing that happens that was never hinted at before, and there's all kinds of just bad writing in it.
Yeah.
And that's about the time that I realized, oh wait, this is just like wizards and dragons and shit. This is what we're talking about. Jack and the Beanstalk, you know.
Just a talking
Well,
donkey.
There's like I took a lot of like I got really interested in it. When I was in college, and so like as a ton of electives, I just took a bunch of like classes on the Bible and like the history of Jesus. I took like a class about like him as a person.
Yeah.
I was like, look, if I'm gonna enter like my adult life as an agnostic,
He was just watching kids jerk off. That's all he was doing the whole time.
right? Yeah, he's just hitting up there in this big throne. Like this shit's gross.
No man comes to the Father but through me.
What would Jesus goon?
You goon. Yeah. Well, where would Jesus goo?
Yeah.
The fucking and I like. It's like to me, it was like, okay, there are characters. It's like historical fiction for me. Like there are
Yeah.
characters in this that are real.
Yeah.
Like most like agnostic like historians are like, oh, there was a guy, Jesus of Nazareth. He was an apocryphal or apocalyptic Jewish preacher.
Yeah.
He was executed by the Roman state or whatever. He was born probably around 2-3 BC, died 32 AD, somewhere around there. But all the other people like Lazarus and Elijah getting carried up in a chariot of fire, like that's you're just thirsty. It's hot out there in the desert.
Yeah, right. And maybe they ate something that made them see things. There's also that kind of thing too, right?
So
Yeah,
how was
it's like
the Sunset Strip gig for you? Was that recent or was that a while ago?
Sunset. Oh no, I opened up for one of my close friends has a podcast called Lemon Party,
Yeah.
and I opened up for their live show.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
okay. That was when they were here. That's the
Yeah,
only
that
other
was-
one I listen to now. Is just you guys in that one.
Bro, that motherfucker had a contest where he handed out a bunch of diapers, and whoever pissed in the diaper the most got like a reward.
It's a lemon party. Isn't
Yeah.
that what the website is of all the old dudes?
It's all these jerking off, having an
Oh,
orgy. Yeah.
Okay, they don't have diapers on or
Keep in mind
depends
that-
or anything.
He was like, man, I'm running out of ideas for this. We were in the green room. He was like, I'm gonna have these boys piss themselves for like $100, and I was like, I'm so glad you're my friend.
Yeah.
Like, that rocks. That's awesome.
What's a Bloodhound Gang used to do that. They'd
really?
They'd bring girls on stage and be like, "Oh, we will give you $100 right now if you pee in your pants." And they would do it. Yeah.
Dude, the 90s were crazy. Like,
Yeah.
this shit. I was watching. So, like, my dad, I was raised on Stern, like old Stern.
Oh yeah.
yeah, same.
and,
good Stern.
and like, it's funny that he's pivoting to kind of like a radio academic now, where he
Yeah.
like has complicated kind of Joe Rogan style
He
conversations,
wants
and
to
he's
be
like
an impresario.
Because I remember, like, not 20 years ago, he was like, "Hey, you want to ride a Sibian for
Yeah.
20 bucks?"
Right. Yeah.
It's just- it's
We'll put it on
fucking
live radio. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. I'm like, dude, you can't
So you
become
got
like,
asked by Lemon Party to go to Sunset Strip. Do you get? Because I kind of moved from doing mics to just waiting to see if somebody wanted me to go somewhere recently. Because I don't need to do stand up every day, or wait.
Sure.
We did research. We went to mics every night of the week in Austin to see which was the best night to be bothered going out. Because we live in like the 4-5, we're almost down like the Slaughter. So I don't really. I mean, we got full-time jobs. I got wife, kids. I'm not gonna go do mics. It really sucks. Like
it's hard. Yeah.
one of the last ones we went to, the guys hid the list out in the patio, and they were like, "Go find it, and then you'll be first." And I was like,
Yeah,
"I'm not
yeah.
doing Easter egg hunts. This is cunty."
Matt McCusker was supposed to open.
Yeah.
But his wife, I think he or his wife got sick, and so he ended up having me, Sean Gardini, who is
Yeah.
like, I think, Matt and Shane's producer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then this one of our buddies, Connor McNutt, who's a comedian out of Los Angeles.
I've heard him.
So you could technically say that you're Matt McCusker's understudy at this point.
Here's
Yeah,
alternate.
just telling people who don't know or care about who that is, like, yeah, I hung out with Shane in the green room for like
I'm a
2 years.
replacement.
right.
I'm a replacement shaman, actually. But you were doing stand up 12 years ago in Austin.
Yeah,
Ish.
when I first moved. Yeah.
'Cause that was when everybody went to mugshots after Velveeta Room.
Yep. I remember, dude, I had a fake ID and it was so shitty. And I would do the Velve speed mic, back when it used to be 4 minutes and not 3.
Oh yeah.
And fucking
Statute of limitations. You're 30 now, so you did not do these things 12 years ago.
yeah, right. And I thought like the coolest guys in the world were these guys that were like getting paid in chicken strips to
Yeah.
do like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
And
they
I
came
was
to
like,
my Cedar Door thing a couple times. I was on Second Lavaca. My cousin was the bar manager there. He gave me the whole back room. So we
Yeah.
had Tellis there and Flores and a bunch of people stopped by and they were like, "This room sucks." And I was like, "Oh fuck, my room sucks." I didn't know.
Those guys were like genuinely funny. I was like looking up to the guys that were like veteran micers. They would
Yeah.
like let me hang out in their apartment and like
Carry On, remember Carry On? He was
No,
a
I
big
don't
one.
remember.
He had a leather jacket. He was very. There was a bunch of old timers when I was doing it. They were like, "He's been in the scene for 10 years," and I'm like, "That's us."
I like, and then when I stopped, I like kind of, you fall off. I just got really into just like being like addicted to drugs there for a long time, and I couldn't even. A lot of comedians are also that. I just
Yeah.
didn't want to do. But so when I started doing it again was like right when Rogan moved here, like
Yeah.
during the pandemic, I started doing like I do a micer every
Yeah.
now and then, and it's like
It's kind
crazy,
of
like-
undeniable. It's a hotspot cultural thing. We kind of have to participate. You
it used to be a
cannot.
stepping stone city. Like it used to get
Yeah.
big here and then move, and now that's like you don't do that.
Yeah, if
People
you were
move
big enough in Austin, eventually you're like, oh, you moved to New York or L.A. and then
We're
no,
trying not
yeah,
to be
yeah.
Kill Tony adjacent, but there's good comedians in town that go on that show, and then we have them on here, and some of their best footage they have is from that show, so we use pieces of it, and we're not trying to like be anywhere close to Kill Tony, but they're the Gong Show of Hollywood of Austin right now. It's like you can't get around it if you don't want to touch it.
No, for sure. And I like as much as I can like say like, oh, some of that stuff to me is like kind of corny and hacky. It is like a fast track if you're funny to like get on shows for sure.
Yeah. If it works out, yeah. But it's 4 hours of waiting for a 5 in 200 chance when you could be doing 3 other mics downtown on a Monday if you really want stage time or to do comedy.
Work on a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, or you can sit in that shitty booty bar where you have to wait now and you can't even hear yourself, and there's a bunch of nerds in there trying to write. And they're like, "Can you turn the music down?"
Dude, the people that stand in front of Mothership like going live on Instagram.
yeah.
And they're like, listen, man, like, hey, dude, chase your fucking dreams forever. I really believe that. Like, do whatever the fuck you want. But there's a type of guy that's like live on Instagram to like his mom who just wants him to move home.
Yeah.
She just misses.
Donnie
her
says
boy.
it's like the Chinese.
It's the
theory.
people in front of. It's the people on Hollywood Boulevard,
Dressed like-
dressed as Spider-Man, charging $20 for people to take
Yeah,
pictures
there's a
with
guy
them.
with
You
a
know?
boa constrictor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, we out here. We're great. I've seen this in LA. When I was in LA doing like stand up way back when I first met Ben, I would see guys like with their phones just out, right? And they're like, dude, another day in beautiful Los Angeles, grinding, haven't got any callbacks, but we got 10 auditions today, and I'm really thinking that like tomorrow I might kill myself, but if I,
Right.
and like I never thought that would come to Texas because Texas is such a fucking, even Austin or Houston, it's not. And then now like I see shit like that like in front of Mothership, like
Joe
another
Rogan
day.
came here and gave everybody Alpha Brain, and now they're all Sigmas. Soon we're going to all be Epsilon or whatever. We're going to move out through the Greek alphabet together. You
Yeah,
had a
that
story about
there
the
was
same
a-
guy that we had, that Louis, the Bill Burr ripoff guy that you said.
dude, he was told to me like second or third hand by a buddy of mine that still does stand up in the city
Yeah.
when I first moved here. Like apparently I just missed him, but I thought maybe he had made it up. And every now and then, like you're one other person who, other than the guy that initially told me that, like confirmed his
It's
existence.
real. It wasn't a dream.
Yeah.
No, he came to Cedar Door, the backroom mic that I was doing. It was called Wide Open Mic, and did the faggot monologue from the Louis show verbatim. And the episode had just aired. But that was an actual homosexual telling Louis and his friends at the back room at the Cedar Door, at the cellar, that it's not okay to say that word because they used a miskindling to burn witches or whatever. But this was just some whacked out stranger that nobody knew. Like outside of the context of the discussion at the table in the cellar, it was like, why are you doing this, man? This is not good. Nobody's laughing. It was only funny in that conversation, and you just memorized it. And then, yeah, just like you said, I went to talk to him afterwards, and he wouldn't look me in the eye, and he was all weirdly talking. I was like, okay, you're like a Xerox machine person, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever do Mr. Tramps when they had the 10-minute mic
Yeah.
in like 2000? Dude, I forget who used to host it. Not Brendan O'Grady. Different. Anyway,
Yeah, everyone has to work up north, so it's convenient to go to North Mics because you're already up there commuting.
Yeah.
It's easier than sitting in traffic. Just go to a mic.
and I started doing that one, and there was this lady. They would let her run the light because she would go up there, dude. And this is a 10-minute open mic, which is psychotic, insane.
Yeah.
And it'd be like 20 comedians up there, and they would let her run the mic by like another 5 because she would just go up there and literally, no joke, no setup, no premise, no tags. She'd just go up there and be like, I think about killing my husband and children all day.
Nice.
I think about burning my house down, right, guys? And she would have that open mic, like, guys, I think about killing my son.
Am I
And
right?
everybody
Am I right?
Am I right? You guys ever think about killing your daughter with poison? And like, dude, I'm losing my fucking mind laughing
It's
because
just performance art. It's beautiful.
yes, I thought she was doing like alternative comedy at
Yeah.
first. My first time I thought she was doing like a.
Are you trying to
Maria
Garofalo me right now, lady?
Yeah, Maria Bamford or any of those, And it wasn't until I talked to the host he was like, no, this lady is not. She's like
allowed in the
legitimate.
building anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
You gave me an awesome troll from your. So we're all like on our 30th episode. So I wanted to listen to y'all's 30th episode, and you guys. I was at work, at the office, and I kept hearing the smoke alarm go off, and I was like, "What a piece of shit building this is! This is a new building, and they don't know how to keep the smoke alarms." And then I got in the car and put it back on in the car on the Bluetooth driving home, and then I heard the smoke alarm again, and I was like, is the smoke alarm going off in my car? I was so dumbed out from like 4 days at the office and burnout. I was like thinking for a second that the smoke alarm, and I was like, God damn it, Pendejo time. You guys have it. It followed me in my earbuds from the office to the car, and I thought it was in the office, and I thought it was in the car, and I realized it was in y'all's apartment.
It was my place. And people, dude,
30th episode anniversary.
Yeah, like I've said some things on there in the show that I'm not proud of. Just joking around, fucking around, right?
Mm-hmm.
People were more mad at that than they've been at me for anything.
Yeah.
Like they were like, dude, how do you live like that? And I was like, I don't know. I fucking drink 12 beers and I pass out. I don't hear it. You know what I mean? Like I remember I
It's
posted
not
on
louder
Twitter,
than the voices in my head.
Yeah, or the headache, I posted on Twitter, I was like, oh, if smoke alarms bother you, like, you're soft. Dude, I had like 150 quote tweets that were like, kill yourself. Yeah, how do you live like a fucking ant? Like, bro, you're a lazy piece of shit. And I was like, dude, you guys are acting like there's a picture of me Sieg Heiling.
No.
Like, people were so pissed. I was like,
I thought
wow,
it was
this is
awesome because you fooled me into thinking I had a smoke alarm in my car.
I didn't know they installed these in Toyotas.
You guys also started a trend on Pendejo time. You do a lot of funny would you rathers. Would you rather, have $1 million or a platter of spaghetti that fucks you?
Yes.
This made me laugh so hard while I was trying to go to bed that my wife was like, "What are you doing over there?" She thought I was jerking off or something. So that's how good your show is, because we have a memory foam mattress. She's not supposed to feel anything from the other side of the bed. And
Thanks,
I was
man.
like
Yeah.
bent over the other way with my phone under my pillow, just going, spaghetti that fucks you. But you guys started a trend with these what you rathers, and now all of the women in the world are doing this one about the bear with the woods.
Oh, yeah. I just found out about that.
That's your fault. You did that.
Every woman says the bear.
Yeah.
They choose the bear over the strange man in the woods or whatever.
And then they all of a sudden started doing ads
Yeah.
for the bear show on Hulu too. And
Yeah.
they were like, "Let's get on this."
Right. But I guess the good I saw a funny comeback to that is that if you ask a man whether he would rather meet a bear or a strange woman in the woods, he would also pick the bear because at least the bear knows what it wants to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Oh, all the comebacks are Dangerfield shit. What was it, fucking J.C. Penney's in the woods? What's she doing over there?
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't want to leave my wallet with a woman in the woods. The
Yeah.
bear won't do anything to my wallet.
Yeah, our friend Jason, we just recorded with him, and I think he had the smartest way. He goes, "That's very, very interesting, and I'm not going to pursue this any further," because any disagreement it turns into an argument. So it's like, oh, I understand that you feel that way. That's the best thing that you could possibly say to the woman choosing
Fascinating.
the bear. Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah.
Like I didn't know. I was seeing references to it on Twitter, and I legitimately didn't know what the fuck anybody was talking about because I stay away from that side of
Right.
the online world. And I finally saw
How do you
a
do that?
reel
Help me do that. I want to do that. I want to stay away from
You
that.
see your way.
How do you fix your feed?
Like 3 days ago, I saw like a reel that was this guy like explaining it. And then at the end of it, he was like, here's a video of a bear snapping a grown bull moose's back with his teeth.
Yeah.
This is like a 900-pound animal, and it's about 8 feet
Right.
tall to shoot. And his point was like, this is one of those social media things that's like almost engineered to get women and men to argue in the
Oh
comments.
no, it is exactly what that is.
The
Yeah.
moose didn't have time to be made
Yeah.
to feel unsafe in that situation.
I'm like, hey, listen to me, man. Here's my 2 cents on this. I just came up with it, so if I'm wrong, whatever. Assuming for the sake of argument that the guy in the woods with you is not a great guy, okay? That guy, you might outrun him. He could be out of shape. Serial killers and serial rapists are not typically, Olympic level athletes. Sometimes they're football players, but other times they're just normal ass guys. A bear can run at 40 miles an hour, and they weigh about 1,000 pounds.
They can also climb trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it doesn't get tired because it's all testosterone.
And they smell period blood.
Yeah. So you're fucked. Like, I understand. Like, oh,
Well, the worst the
term-
bear could do is kill me. That's the what the response to that is that at least the bear won't rape me.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, listen. I don't know. I've never lived my life as a woman. Last I checked, I was like, have you ever Grizzly Man? Have you ever seen videos of people getting eaten by
Yeah,
animals?
yeah.
Oh, the least he could do, they eat you alive. They
Yeah.
start at your butt and your fucking balls area.
Yeah.
Like they don't just a tiger or like a puma, they
Yeah,
crack your neck,
yeah.
die. A fucking grizzly will just start eating your innards and shit. They don't, you know what I mean? Like
I
they're
had a
fucking.
buddy that I was telling that when the coyotes came back out for COVID, there was nature was coming
Yeah,
back. And
yeah.
you heard them more, and I was like, oh, I heard on Rogan that they eat the asshole first, and he was like, well, I guess we're safe then if you're here.
The fucking dude, I love listening to his show
Yeah.
because I'm a huge UFC fan, so I legitimately like the episodes with
The
the
MMA
fighters.
episodes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, been a fan since I was a teenager. I love when he has guys on, dude, and it'll be like an astrophysicist or something, and he'll have legitimately and try to engage with them and be smart with them, and then the next episode he'll have on like the guy from the Babylon Bee,
Yeah.
and the guy from the Babylon Bee is like, I identify as an attack helicopter, and then Rogan's like. And it's like, dude, you
Fascinating.
live in what world do you want to live in? Either you hang out with Neil deGrasse Tyson or you hang out with the biggest retards of all time.
Yeah.
Like-
I think it's just whoever he's with, he completely buys into their worldview. And they say that Trump is like that too. That Trump's
Yeah.
opinion is whoever the person he last talked to's opinion.
Creepy mirror person.
It feels like the kind of the same thing.
The most astute observation I ever saw about Rogan was somebody had said in a hit piece about him that's like his belief, his ideology is whatever the most confident jacked man last told him.
Yeah.
Right.
If you have a six pack and you know how to hunt but you're a Marxist, he would be singing the Internationale tomorrow.
No, he he had Bernie Sanders on, and he bought into everything Bernie Sanders was saying. And then he has somebody like Ben Shapiro or Matt Walsh or somebody, and he buys into whatever they're saying. It's every time, yeah.
Dude, that Matt Walsh guy is one of those Christian conservatives that it's all a big race to the bottom for the content creation, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So some of them have circled back now to being pro pedophilia. They're pro arranged child
Eventually,
marriage.
yeah.
Oh, in
Eventually, it all
Africa,
hits
there
the
isn't,
horseshoe. Matt Walsh is probably my least favorite one out of all of them because I think his beard is a merkin. I don't think if you ever look at a picture of him, his beard does not look real. It looks fake.
It doesn't. It looks like one of the ones you go to Turkey and get because it's too symmetrical.
So we
It
got to
doesn't
do
have
a,
any.
Right.
we
Yeah.
got to do a
Yeah.
shout out to this guy on TikTok, Atomic. He was like, I love your guys' show. It gets me through work. And I looked at his TikTok. He works at a fucking foundry for metallurgy. He's got these huge pots that are just spraying lava out the top. And he's
Y'all
wearing
show or
mine, but I'm sure you've had similar stuff.
yes,
Where people,
yeah.
I mean, I listen to you guys at work. It gets me through the day of just being in a cubicle. But I'm like, this guy has a hazmat mask on, and somehow he's got earbuds inside, and he's listening to us while he's making, I don't know, metal. What is a forge? I have no idea what he does. I messaged him back. I was like, I looked at your shit. What the fuck are you doing? And he was like, he was just more vague. Like, I make metal.
A lot of the guys, in my experience, labor jobs, military, truck drivers.
You've had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Caustic gases and stuff.
What was that?
Caustic gases and
Oh yeah, dude.
quickcrete burns on your hands and stuff.
Yeah, that was like the plant that I worked at. The one next to it, like 3 weeks before I started, had exploded.
Yeah.
And leaked benzene like into the air. And
I don't see how you're allowed to listen to anything in those places. You're supposed to be aware of what's going on around you. You're not supposed to have earbuds in.
I don't know. They have OSHA, like not OSHA. They have like the safety teams that work for the companies there.
Yeah.
And, if you listen to the old episodes, you've heard this one before, but I got into it with one of the foremen there because if there was the hot part of the plant and then the cold part, so the live part, and then just where you have material. If you go into the hot part of the plant, you have to literally stop what you're doing, go into a porta potty or a porta john or somewhere and change into your FRs, and then go into the plant. And then when you leave, you can take your FRs off. It's 110 degrees. I'm not wearing my fucking FRs. I'm just not.
Yeah.
So I got bitched out by one of the like site supervisor guys who was driving his little gay golf cart around. And he's like, if you're in a live plant, you're wearing your fucking FR, son. And I was like, dude, it's 111 degrees. I'm just fixing a generator.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drive back. And he's like, that little piece of fabric, that's gonna keep your ass safe if something blows up out here.
You know
and
what?
I was like, dude,
Jesus doesn't want you jerking off either.
that's like, bro,
The same tone.
there's 1,000 gallons of plastic precursor behind me.
Yeah.
If it explodes, I'm being on fire is not a concern of mine.
Yeah.
I will be vaporized. I'm 10 feet from it. I will be turned to mist as if I never existed. Ash
It's actually a favorable outcome.
yeah, like,
if I could pick any way to die, being vaporized is probably the best one,
Get
right?
nuked.
Yeah, I want to be at ground zero, right?
yeah. That same job, that's like my first day. Me and my dad were sitting in the warehouse and they were doing like the safety briefing or whatever. And I had worn a hard hat before when I was doing roofing, but like they really didn't care if you wore it. And they were like, you wear this, it keeps you safe. And I was like, oh, this is a nice hard hat.
Doesn't make sense under a ceiling or a roof. Like why there's no cranes.
Yeah. Fucking it was like one of the nice blue ones. Anyway, I just took a piece of iron, like rebar, and I was smashing myself over the fucking head with it.
Yeah.
I was like testing the tensile strength, and I like look over to my dad, and I was like, "Hey, these things work." And then I turn the corner, and there's just an OSHA guy standing there. It's like 6 a.m. Done.
That's when they show up.
Those types of jobs, I learned like working in kitchens and working construction for a little bit and like doing home remodeling. It is always the most dangerous jobs where a guy is like behind the wheel of a forklift carrying like say 500 gallons of like caustic soda, just like extremely corrosive material, and he'll lean his fat fucking head out of the thing and be like, I'm drunker than hell.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, what? Like that's no.
Well, I quit drinking 2 hours before work. I should be good.
Yeah,
I quit drinking at 5 a.m. I reported for work at 7. What's your problem? I thought this was
I hope
America.
They don't piss test me. I'm high as hell on pills, and you're like, dude, you have so much metal above my head, like a fuck ton of it.
I had one more bit that I was working on that I wanted to talk to you about.
Sure.
What about the guy who asks a girl for her digits and then she goes home with him and puts her fingers in his ass? He's like, I thought you wanted a couple digits.
I like that one. I was thinking about. I was making myself laugh. It's not even a joke, but what if Scorpion from Mortal Kombat was just a normal guy and he was like, "Hey, dude, come over here. Hey, dude, hey, bro, dude, I just need to talk to you for a second. Just come over here, man, bro." Seriously, dude, get the fuck, come on, man. I was like, I don't smoke weed because it gives me panic attacks, but every now and then, like, I'll have like half an edible, and for some reason, that's the shit that like, I won't laugh at most stand-up. Not that stand-up isn't funny, I just won't. But the shit that makes me laugh now is like, yeah, like, would you rather get fucked by a dog 100 times or fucked by a dog 200 times?
Oh, the Scorpion guy is the guy that like microwaves his hot pocket perfectly to the perfect warmth and gets it out and goes, yeah, flawless victory.
Dude.
Flawless.
Right.
The tiniest tasks.
I worked for a guy. I was a part of I don't know if you guys remember when Facebook got sued. It was the content moderator settlement. Like they were paying us like $15 an hour to watch live leak videos all day and delete them from the website.
Yeah, I heard about those.
Yeah, I was a part of that lawsuit, and my boss, or one of my bosses at Facebook, we weren't even full-time employees. We were like contractors. Dude, he would like, one of those people where you look at the guy and you listen to him talk and all of his mannerisms and things, and you're like, man, I wish I could be that happy. I wish I could be like you, dude. Because he would like pour his coffee and it would get right up to the tip of his mug. And he would be like, epicness. and I would be, and all day, dude, he would be like, it's
Dominate.
a great
Yes,
day.
dominate.
It's awesome sauce. You guys crush it out there. Did an awesome balls ass job. Like Deadpool t-shirt, like fucking
Chimichangas.
Yeah, dude. He would always say maximum effort, like whatever the fuck line from the movie. Yeah. And he would like come to me to my desk and like talk to me or like whatever. Like I don't know why he like took a liking to me, and like in my head I was like, I want two things to happen. I want to be as happy as you, and I also want someone to Stephen Paddock this whole building.
Right. Your joke about I wish I was as happy as you, but I also wish somebody would kill us all. That was what I would say to like family members and stuff who were like hardcore Trump people during COVID, who were like anti-mask. They thought it was all pandemic and all that kind of stuff. The Herman Cain Award type people, the anti-vax,
Demon rats. Yeah.
And I would say I got really, really into the Herman Cain Award subreddit. So I don't know if you know what that is, but it's all, all the people who would be all anti-vax and it's all fake and all that stuff, and they would die of COVID. And I had family members who were kind of like that too. And my thing was like, I don't want you to die. I just want as many people like you to die as possible. At what point does it make a difference in like electoral outcomes? That's the line I want to drive.
I feel bad. I felt bad during that because I was like, I have like a very deep rooted like morbid curiosity. So I fucked around on there a lot and was very sad because like all my family's like that. Yeah. And it made me depressed to think like, oh, that could be my mom, like, and people are like mocking them. And I kind of had this weird like takeaway from it where I was like, these people are being sold something. Yeah. They're being stirred up by people who don't care about them.
George Floyd was on fentanyl. Who the fuck? What?
Yeah. Like, oh man, dude. Yeah, that whole
doesn't
thing
have anything to do with any of it.
Well, that was. I always had the perfect thing that would shut it down on any things like that. Like the George Floyd was on fentanyl, that's why he died. And I was like, what would really have proven that if he hadn't had his neck knelt on for 9 minutes,
And again, those guys, they live in a world where I believe this, and if you guys disagree, that's fine. Like those guys live in a political world where they've won. Roe v. Wade is overturned. Yeah. Every industry's been deregulated to the point where it's just greed, corruption, shrinkflation.
It's the path of least resistance. It's just like being a Christian. Like I believe this thing that makes me feel good, and I'm gonna go to heaven. So I'm done. But
they still find things to complain about. I'm like, dude, you won.
Yeah.
Dude, there's no unions anymore. American labor's dead. If it's segregation and like gay people you're mad at, fine. You got 2 L's, but the rest of them are straight W's. You guys won. You won. Like Alan Dulles and George W. Bush have airports named after them. They're the most evil guys on the planet.
Yeah.
Like,
I grew up at Dulles. That was my neighborhood, was Dulles.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think it's also one of those that psychologically we crave conflict because we are wired that way. Like that's our biology, is that we need conflict. And so people are going to turn, even if they've won everything, there's still going to be that one little thing or that, where you can say, oh, they're coming for this thing now.
This is Rogan all over again. Our medulla oblongata doesn't get engaged, so we have no more fight or flight. We're supposed to be fighting tigers, and now we have no conflict. So we have to make up shit.
My favorite
Worried
fucking
Mother
thing
magazine.
About that whole goddamn gimmick where he's like, everybody's too comfortable. You need to get uncomfortable. And I'm like, bro, there are 8 billion people on this planet. About 7.9 billion of them are profoundly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like most people, like, do you know how out of touch you have to be a billionaire podcaster, comedian, fight commentator, and you're telling people who work like 80-hour weeks in construction or in kitchens or single mothers, hey, you should be grateful to live in America and you're too comfortable. Take a fucking ice bath. Dude, blow me.
Blow dude me from Man vs. Wild. What's that guy's name? Man vs. Wild?
Bear Grylls. Yeah.
The first thing he does is find a vantage point up high, figure out where the water is, get some food, and then he sits down and makes a shelter and it is comfortable. Like every animal looks for that. That's not weird. Yeah. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to the water finds the path of least resistance. That's how canyons are made. Everyone wants to be comfortable.
All that shit. Yeah, I know. Like exactly. That's my thing too.
You're not supposed to not want to be comfortable. That's not natural.
I think my theory is guys like him, Tom
Bear
Segura, who
Grylls.
was my favorite comedian forever. Rogan
Yeah.
and Segura. They found an audience that will back them no matter what. They won't challenge them on any of their stuff. They won't give them a hard time. They'll pay astronomical money for tickets, like Chappelle, and they'll be behind them 100% on anything. They'll bankrupt themselves morally and financially, and there's no pushback. And so if you live in a world of just yes men, stuff like that starts to make sense to you. Oh, these people, this world's soft. It's like, what do you mean? So wages have been stagnant, like
Yeah, I mean,
everybody's
Rogan and Segura are cool, but they're not dead enough. All my favorite dudes are all dead. Hedberg, Greg Giraldo, they're all. That's the model.
Richard Cheney and Richard Lewis were some of my favorite. So fucking sad.
Yeah, definitely. There's a certain amount of success where you get out of touch, and then everything is just what's coming to you through your phone screen. So your phone screen is just giving you things that a warped view of how things really are.
And you guys are in the hungry come up phase of podcasting. It's interesting to look at Pendejo and go, look, they're getting this much now, and it only gets like our thing. The numbers are only going up. It's slow, but it's like it's fun to watch. I don't know how obsessive or whatever you are with your analytics, and I don't know if you want to get into this on the show, but it's fascinating and it's inside whatever. But it's hard not to check it all the time and go, how many downloads did we get today?
I try to just make the best shit that I can make, and that's all. I always try to do, and I also I listen to people who give me feedback.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they're not nice about it. They're like, "Hey, the levels in the last video episode suck. You should fucking die." And I'm
Change your
like,
battery
I'm not
on your
gonna die.
smoke alarm.
Yes, that too. I'm like, I'll fix the smoke alarm. I'll put the gain, or I'll add in some VFX at the end to make it sound a little clearer, and then. People like it, but
yeah, if we get complaints and say things suck, I'm like, it's right in the name, god awful.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Were you expecting something that wasn't god awful?
The show is awful, and we're being awful. But thank you so much for coming on. I know you got a gig tonight. If we can plug your Stubbs thing, if there's that's in the future, or Pendejo time, we don't have a Patreon, we don't have anything like that. So
May 25th is our drunk uncle's playing at Stubbs at 10.
yeah.
If you guys want to come out, and then Pendejo time. We don't have any shows booked right now. We're trying to have a tour for September, but that's forever away. So
P star O time.
Yeah, PE. I was gonna say before you mentioned Carlin or like your favorite. Before I leave, did you see the Will Sasso thing, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Come on.
Is it recent? Is this a recent thing? A recent Will
Like maybe
Sasso?
6 months ago, he did an AI George Carlin special.
Oh yeah, was that Will Sasso that did that?
Yeah, so it's his podcast that he does with a robot that's voiced by ChatGPT.
Right.
And it was like funded by that project of his.
Yeah.
And it was just an hour-long special in Carlin's voice, and it was just like it was one of those like very surreal things. I watched like half of it, just completely.
It was hard because I thought Sasso was the man before. He was on that alcoholic show. He was on Mad TV. He was great. Everything
funny.
else.
Dude, his Kenny Rogers Mad TV shit is
Yeah.
so
Oh yeah. Oh, I love that.
good. Yeah.
And what's that show called? The Becker with the alcoholic?
No, he's on that one with the guy from Office Space.
Bilkner.
It's on Netflix. It's like blowing up on
The guy's
Loudermilk.
name.
Loudermilk.
Oh, yeah.
He's on that, and he's a really good character in that. But
He's he has one of my favorite. That guy Brian Callen.
yeah,
One of my favorite podcast clips of all time was they brought Will Sasso on to, I guess, Fighter and the Kid.
yeah,
And fucking Brian Callen's like, "Hey, dude, you better watch how you talk to me," like very serious. And Will Sasso's like he's like 280, pretty built. He's like,
Yeah.
"What are you gonna do, Brian? Use some of that boxing and jujitsu you've been doing? You're gonna box me?" And he's like, "Hey, you better call," because this is just how Brian Callen is, I guess, or whatever. It just made me laugh because I was like, God damn, these guys all take Alpha Brain,
yeah.
and they're like, you know what I mean? Like,
No, that happened with on Skanks with Cats. The guy that Metzger and Louis Gomez got into it on stage and started throwing shit at each other recently.
oh
And
really?
Metzger was like, "What the fuck are you gonna do, man? I'm trying to make your show funnier for you. You're fucking this up right now. Everyone watch him be a fucking idiot because he can't stop being roided out because I made fun of his kid or whatever. He fucked, Gomez fucked up, and he's fucked up and talked about his kid on his show. And of course, That kind of humor is everybody that doesn't have a kid is like, oh, you gonna fuck your kid or whatever.
Oh,
Anybody
yeah,
with
yeah,
kids is like, no, bro, you don't.
Well, yeah, like that whole there's like a certain I think like corner of that world where it's like man, your fans pay you a lot of money, and that's great.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the circling the drain with the conservative content YouTube guys where it's like your fans make you rich. Great. Your fans are also degenerate psychopaths.
Yeah.
And you have to like live in that world or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's Jake Rhodes. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us, and check out Pendejo Time.
Yeah. We'd love to see you again whenever you're in town or do something together if possible.
Hell yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Stay in touch.